Hey there, and welcome to this session of Zoico Garage. We're going to continue our look at the interior refresh of the WRX, and in this episode we will be replacing this lower part of the console and manual shift bezel. We'll be replacing this with the CVT version. It comes red stitched leather, a different bezel trim piece. Unfortunately, there is no shift boot for it, so I'll be repurposing the stock boot to work in conjunction with the CVT bezel piece. Does look cool, doesn't it? It's actually a pretty easy mod to do. Somebody more crafty could definitely probably get a better fit with the shift boot, but I think we'll be happy with the outcome here. Let's get to work. So to remove this piece, we got to remove this piece, and we'll start by doing that. It's not too difficult. Pop open the door, remove the cover, and there you'll find two Phillips screws. Right there, it's dark. Down there. Action camera. Don't lose them, you want to reuse them. So next, what's holding this in, we need to remove the e-brake boot. It's just in with some clips along here, then at the very bottom. Just work one edge off. With two hands. We've got that. Now you can either leave it hanging right here. I'm just going to pull it off at this time completely. And we'll set that to the side. And now that reveals a screw here. That. Now there are wires attached to this piece, so you want to be careful. You may have your options here. That was cheap, I do not. So the harness I have is for the electronics here. And you can just roll that back, and you can just let it sit right like that between your seats. Cool. So next we're going to remove the manual shift knob. We're going to remove the boot, and it just clips in, and put your finger underneath, you'll feel the edge, and you can just pull and it will start to pop out. Pull off, set to the side. Now moving on to the console itself, there's two clips. You can either use a trim tool, trim removal tool, or a small screwdriver. Just wedge it in there, it'll pop up, and you want to pull down and out. And we'll release the clips there. You'll probably need to put release your e-brake to get it down so you can get around it. And there we go, pull up and out. And we got anything. But cool, we've got the pieces we need out of the car, and we'll move to the bench. Here you see the two console pieces, the manual transmission, the red stitched leather CVT version. Its trim bezel actually comes silver. This is piano black, but it would come with this color here. And unfortunately, the shift boot and its clipping, its clip piece just does not work. Not sure what might come with the boot for the CVT version. Not going to worry about it. You see this bezel pops out. It's held in with some screws and clips. There's no real way to attach it to the bezel piece. So what we're going to do is use some good old-fashioned tape. Duct tape, actually Gorilla Tape. I've had it in the car before and it held up fairly well. I'll show you how I did it. Alright, so we're going to want to remove the boot from the plastic trim piece. It's just held in on these clips. Don't want to tear it. You can just clip this right back into your old piece in case you want to revert back. Now for my method of installing this boot, you don't need to do anything in regards to modifying this to get it to work. We're just going to use this as it is. Okay, here we have the bottom side of the console piece, and you can see where I've already gone through and done this. I've tried hot glue, a couple other methods, and they didn't really hold up well. You could use probably a more permanent type of adhesive, but I didn't want to risk ruining this. So there again, I'm just going to stick with the Gorilla Tape. It's worked well up until this point. So I mentioned earlier in the video that I'd be using Gorilla Tape. I've had this set up in the car before, and the Gorilla Tape did okay, but I think I have a better method, and the finish was a bit better by using some additional means of attachment. So what we need to do, we need to get the manual shift boot to fit into the CVT bezel and console piece. You can't take this piece and swap it out on the manual piece. Unfortunately, that will not work. So we're left with this. You have this bezel fits on the top, and you're left with this, and you're left with this here. You can see from previous tries how I've set this up before. And what I've done different this time is I've gone ahead and pre-drilled some holes in this unit here, and I'll use those to pull the boot tight, and that'll help keep it from through shifting, because that boot's going to be constantly doing this. I'm not going to, do a step-by-step. I'll rather I'll do this and run the camera, and you guys can see how I went ahead and did this. So I mentioned drilling some holes, and if you can see here in the boot, it comes with the mounting points, that used to be on this bracket here. So you don't have to pop any new holes in your boot. And what I'm aiming for, I'm going to set screws to hold this top into place. And then on the bottom side, we'll do the same here. Here's your center line. You want to drill a hole here, straight down from these holes. These holes are the screw holes for the bezel. There's enough of a gap that the screw heads here won't interfere. So you have a hole here on this side, and about an inch away from the center, another hole, and another hole. And that's where I will attach the front of the boot there. The screws I use to mount and drill this. This is really soft plastic. I just threw it on the drill after marking it through the boot. You don't want to drill through the boot, it might bind it and you'll rip it. But you just start those holes real easy. Just clean up the burrs. I did the same on this side, here and here, about in line with the edge of this clip. Again, I did the same thing, put the screw on the bit. And then back them out. Going forward now, I can just use a hand driver to continue. Now when this gets put into place, So as I mentioned, I'm going to be using some other options besides just the Gorilla Tape. I'm going to be using some 3M molding tape. It does okay. It peeled off before, but we'll use it in conjunction with the Gorilla Tape and the screws, and I think you'll have much better success this time. So what I'm going to do, as I mentioned, we're looking for these tabs here. You don't want to cut them off. They hold the bezel into place, but we're going to take some of the molding tape, fix it right to it. So I've revised my tape scheme to more match my mock-up piece. I've removed quite a bit of the double-sided tape, just have it on those two tabs I pointed out earlier, here, and then I put a strip on the bottom of the bezel. Next, I'm going to attach the boot using the screws. I suppose you could put washers on this side if you wanted. But the bezel will help hold this into place as well. And with the pull, so everything's still centered up. Cool. Move up to the outside edge. Next, I'm going to install the bezel. As you see, I have a piano black, which I've had in the car before. This one actually became silver, and this is the dry carbon fiber overlay. Looks pretty cool. This is what we'll be using to finish the install. I'm going to clip this into place. It's got two clips. Actually, two screws here, and here. Don't need to insert those yet. And we'll clip it into place. Alright, cool. Okay. So this is going to be the orientation of the boot when it's in the car because of the reverse lockout. And so we want to work. I know, says the dog. And it causes, yes, it causes some trouble with the reveal along the edge. And clearly Roxy is upset about that, as am I. Okay, so we're going to snap our bezel into place. I will be covering doing the carbon fiber overlays in another video. Okay, so our bezel's snapped into place. All this is looking good. We're liking that. Now, I'm just going to start lining up or adjusting these until I get a reveal that I like. That's not looking too bad there. goes into this. So, I don't know if this is showing up on the camera very well. I'm trying to keep this little ridge, so offset. Mostly just for looks. If you pull it tight, it's just going to dip straight down and look more like this edge. Okay, I like this side. I'm going to kind of secure it as best as I can. Should have maybe put some tape right there. So now I'm going to try to get the other side to match the reveal here. This is always going to be moving. Mm-hmm. That's looking pretty good there. Yes, indeed. Okay. So we're going to press that into place. Remember, there's no mistakes. Happy accidents. I'm just going to keep massaging this until we get a look that we like. Mm-hmm. At this point, we're going to go ahead and reinsert the screws to the bezel. Alright, we can do a little bit more fine tuning. So if you're like me, you probably have, I don't know, 9 or 10 of these laying around. They seem to come with every Cobb item I've ever bought. Anyhow, we're going to put it to good use in this project. We're going to make a piece out of it that looks similar to this, and we're going to set it right there. What does that do? It will help maintain an edge here, so when this is moving around, it stays in place. basically we're just going to cut a longer version of this that will go from here to here. You know what? Why mess around? Okay, we used the bandsaw with that real quick. You can use dikes. That's how I made the practice piece, the mock-up. We're just going to get a better measurement here. Real precise here at Zoico Garage. That's just going to slot right in. And that gives us this nice edge, a reveal. It's not really an edge, but it gives that hard edge here to keep it in place. Now I'm going to adjust this here, see if I can get a little bit better fitment before attaching this. You really gotta want this. It looks cool in the car. I haven't had it with the new bezel with the carbon fiber overlay in there yet, so we'll be excited to see how that looks. So after messing with this again even further, again, it's a personal preference how far you want to take this. Had I had perhaps some gasket material or some thin, some sort of thin plastic that I could cut, I could have shaped a little gasket. And what that does, or what I simulated, or what I did with the tape, it just kind of gives more definition to that edge. Anyhow, if I do this again, I'm going to order some thin plastic and do that. If you're looking to do this project, you may consider doing that from the get-go. Or you can just use what you got. So from here, remember that Cobb license plate holder? Put some double back right here. Just gonna stick this right in there. Oh, that's nice. And roll it over. And there we go. I'm gonna call this good. Good enough. Alright. Make sure the bezel's snapped into place before I finalize my fitment here. Feels pretty good. So now I'm just gonna start pushing this down, making sure it's where I want it. So what I'm gonna do next is throw some more Gorilla Tape on the outside edge. I don't want to mess up this here since it's visually acceptable. I'm going to do this and try not to stretch it out any further. begin taping this into place. Again, we're going to stay away from the edge we've created. And definitely, more I've been thinking about it, definitely would use some thin sheet of plastic shaped into this grommet, if you will. And you could actually have screwed it into place. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to run that down into there. Dog approves. Same on this side. Alright, I think we're going to call that a wrap. It's not too pretty on this side. Again, I would have used a sheet of plastic had I thought about it sooner. As like a grommet to maintain that revealed edge we made inside there. Cool. Alright, here we are in the car. We've got our modified CVT red stitch leather shift console piece. We've got our carbon fiber overlay trim bezel. It looks killer. I'm going to put this back into the car. It's helpful now to have your car into second and your e-brake up. See if I can do this with one hand. Get that started. Carefully adjust into place. Push, push. All right. Take our shift boot, get it down below the e-brake lockout. Throw it back into neutral. We'll get the main console back into place. Two clips. You want to line up here, a pin here, and then a screw lastly right here. Pretty good. Able to get these screws in. Reinsert the mat for the bottom. Push this into place. Lock it into the shift part of the console. Over here, snug down this screw. In another video, we will be swapping this out for a red stitched leather version. I didn't have the right adhesive. I thought about using the adhesive here, but I didn't want something so permanent for this installation. Like I said, you may want to use a thin piece of plastic as a kind of a grommet gasket type of deal to help maintain the revealed edge. If I redo this in the future, that's certainly what I'll do. I wish I would have thought about it before I started. This looks pretty sharp. So to reinsert the e-brake boot, slip it over, lining up these tabs here. Helps to line up the bottom first. Nice. Let's throw the pocket mat back in. Where's my that. Install the shift knob. That's great. Quite a bit of effort. I think the result's well worth it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Was this worth the effort? I don't think it came out great. And with that, we're going to conclude our CVT red stitch leather shift console and bezel install in the WRX interior refresh series. Thanks for watching. See ya.